Hey guys, it's Gene with Record for the Win here, and I'm bringing you guys a Nordic deck profile today. I know I've been very lazy with my videos, so I'm going to try to make them a bit more consistently, possibly weekly, maybe even bi-weekly, but it just depends on whatever news is going on in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. Basically, this deck is about setting up your plays the turn before to explode next turn. And to start that off, you have the Nordic engine. This deck, by the way, was not my idea. It was actually someone who I know at locals, but I took his deck and added some changes into it, make it my own. Alright, I'll go ahead and get started. First off, you have 3, 10, John Stewart, the Nordic Beasts. They all have crazy names, so forgive me if I say them ridiculously. Basically, what he says is, when a monster you control is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you spell summon him from your hand, and once per turn, when this defense position card is changed to attack, you spell summon one Nordic Beast from your deck in face of defense, except for another one of him. So this works really well with this Nordic guy, Gold Tax. He's a level 4 tuner, so it's an easy level 7 right there. Or if you don't want to go for him, you can go for Tang Grisner, which is a regular level 3, so that's an Xyz material, possibly. So yeah, it's really good. Next up, you have 2 Supernova Mega Hamsters. He searches out your 10 Jesters, your 10 Grisner, and also the Raikou, which adds for a more consistent build with these guys, because honestly, I'd rather have my build more consistent than less consistent, as with all people. But 2 of these definitely a great choice. And one thing I want to show you guys with him is if you use his effect. Sorry about that. If you use his effect on Tangentner, you put him into face on defense, and then on your turn you flip him up, and he actually gets his effect when you change from defense to face of attack. So spell summon a Gold Fax or a Tangrid. It's really good, and you still haven't used your normal summon yet, so that adds for more plays. And then obviously the Yugioh, which I showed you guys. Next up, we have 2 Reborn Tengus. I know not many people use Reborn Tengu since March 1st, but I feel it's still a good addition to the deck. Possibly I may take them out if I desperately need room, because I've been trying to incorporate other cards in this deck, such as Allure of Darkness, but I have no room. This deck is 42 cards. I do not want to make it 43. Well, yeah, so Tengu, pretty good. Sometimes it can be cloggy if you open up 2, but you don't get that often with the deck. Next up is 2 Effect Veilers. Basic, pretty much staples this format. That might be a bit of an exaggeration, but most decks this format, if not all, run Veiler. And then you have Sangan. I actually tech 1 DD Crow in the main deck. Basically, it's really good against the meta currently, with Insectors and Dark Worlds running around. Just puts a stop to those. And any deck, rogue deck such as TG or any deck is average right now. I don't know any really popular decks right now that use Avarice in the main deck, but there you go, 1 DD Crow. And next you have 2 Birdmans. This deck adds a lot of plays to the deck with your Nordic guys, and just with Tangentner, you special summon him from your hand in monster destroy battle, and then you switch him, get a Gold Fax, bounce the Gold Fax to your hand, bring out Birdman, and you have a choice of going into a rank 3 or sinking into a Bria or something. So it adds a lot of different plays to the deck. It helps you get around certain situations. That's why I like Birdman. Deck 2 is great. I want to use more or less. Next you have 2 Kais. This can also be utilized with Birdman. I'm not sure how many people know this, but I kind of thought I discovered this, but I'm sure other people know. You can, if you have a Kais on your field before, from the turn before, you just bounce him from your hand to get Birdman, and then you tribute him off for Kais. So it gives you another card to remove from play, just like you would have done last turn if you tributed him. And he's also dark in the deck, as is Birdman, so that helps with your BLS in the deck, which is right there. Yeah, I think 2 Kais is really good in the deck. Kais can kind of be a dead draw sometimes though. I just don't think 1 is enough to give you the plays I like. And then you have your boss monsters, as BLS and Gores. No need to explain. If you have lights and darks, why not? Onto the spells, you have 2 duality. 3 is a bit too cloggy, and 1 is definitely not enough. 2 makes the deck very consistent, makes you get good hands most of the time. Next up is Mind Control and Enemy Controller. Basically, this just takes your opponent's monsters and uses them for Xyz feed or synchro material, whatever you feel like doing. And also ruins your opponent's plays. Say you have a Tengu out, you just tribute your Tengu, take one of your opponent's monsters. Let's say they're playing wind up, so you take like one of their level 3s so they can't go into Zenmaity, and then you just give them, you give yourself another Tengu off of Enemy Controller. It's pretty good. And then Mind Control works well with Tangrisner because you use his effect, switch him to attack, get gold backs, Mind Control their monster, and let's say it's a level 4, so you go into a level 8 such as Scrap Dragon, and then pop off your level 3 Nordic guy that's left over, and then pop a card in the field. Really good. Next up you have 1 Smashing Ground. This card is really good to get rid of that really pesky Thunder King. It kills this deck because it doesn't let you use your dualities, or it stops all your synchros you could possibly bring out. And basically there's nothing in this deck that can hit over it normally unless you tribute for Caius. That's pretty much your only out unless you have the Smashing Ground or the Dark Hole. And speaking of Dark Hole, you have the staples, Dark Hole, Monster Board, and Book of Moon. Book of Moon isn't that much of a staple. Some people don't like it, but I like it. And then you have 2 MSTs and Heavy Storm. 3 is a bit too much, and I do not like 1 in this deck. Onto the traps, you have 3 Gleipnir, the Fetter's Offender. For those of you who are not familiar with Gleipnir, it searches any Nordic in the deck, so adds a lot of plays to the deck. You can play this card when you have a face down monster, and you just chain this when your opponent declares an attack, and you add the Tangrisner, and then your monster dies, and you spell summon Tangrisner. So it adds a lot more plays till the next turn, and lets you go off next turn if you really want to. Next up is the Stalin Brigade, pretty much staples. No need to explain. You have Mirror Force and Torrential, other staples. No need to explain those either. And the last trap card, and the last card of the deck, the Transmigration Prophecy. And this card says you target 2 cards in the graveyards and shuffle them back into the deck. This is really helpful against some decks this format, such as Insectors, because if your opponent has Hornets in the grave, all you do is use this card and put them back in the deck so that it ruins their plays for next turn. And you can also use it with your own guys to like recycle your Reborn Tengus or your Nordic guys, whatever. Moving on to the extra deck. Fairly basic, but your main difference is Thor. Basically, his effect is, or he takes a Nordic Beast Tuner and 2 or more non-tuners, and he says once per turn you can negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent controls until the end phase. And then if he dies during the end phase, you banish a Nordic Beast Tuner from your grave, bring him back to the field, and inflict 800 to your opponent. He's a really, really good monster. Giant 3500 attack. Hits over like all the biggest monsters in the game right now. Really helpful. And then level 9 is Mistworm. Level 8 Scrap Dragon's Tardos. Moving down to the 7s, Black Rose, Scrap Archfiend. This deck can utilize level 7s very easily because Tangrisner is level 3, and if he uses the effect to bring out gold packs, instant level 7. I don't use more than 1 Black Rose because of the field, it's a bit too much. I never end up bringing out 2, if 1, usually. Level 6s, Brio and Gaia. Level 5s, Catastrophe and Hyperlibrarian. The reason why I picked Hyperlibrarian over, like, I don't know, Magical Android or something, that's because I like his effect better. Magical Android would not be a bad addition because it's a 2400 attack as well, but it's also light, so if you don't have a light in your graveyard for BLS, that's also really helpful. So I might end up taking this out for Magical Android just because I don't really use Hyperlibrarian's effect often. And then Armor, move on to Xyz, Utopia, Levy, or Leviathan. All of them are really good in the deck, easily playable. And then Elastic Chimera Attack is a throw-in. This would be a Zen mains, but I don't feel like paying $90 for a Zen mains. Moving on to the side deck. Basically, it's pretty like average of a side deck, not much difference. You have double Cybers, double T-King, 1 Gemini Imps. Dark Worlds won Long Beach. I feel more people are going to play Dark Worlds now, so that's really good against them. Second Ryko, really good against heroes, and it's Shining. Apparently misses its timing, interesting, really. Second DD Crow, don't even explain that. Double Kaiku, this is a really good card because not only is its first effect good, which when it inflicts battle damage, you from play up to 2 monster cards from your opponent's graveyard, but also says your opponent cannot remove from play cards from either graveyard. So that's really helpful. If your opponent has BLS in their hand, it's dead because they cannot play it. A second smashing round, if your opponent likes Thunder Kings, and they maybe main like 2, or they side 2, if you don't already know that if they side it. This is a really good side deck card. Yeah, Bottomless for Rabbit and whatever else. Double Debunk. Not many people use this card. I'm surprised. It's a really good card. Basically, if you don't know what it does, it says negate the activation of an effect monster's effect that activates in the hand or graveyard and remove from play. So this means Effect Valor, Maxi, DD Crow, or Necro Gardener, or Gores, or anything else that activates in the hand or the grave. Very helpful card when it comes to dealing with this stuff, especially if your deck falls victim to hand traps, which my deck is pretty much just like, if they Effect Valor your level 3 Nordic guy, then you're kind of screwed for the turn. Pretty much end your turn there. But it depends what you have planned. But yeah, this is a really good card. I'm surprised not many people use this. Well guys, I hope you like the deck. Oh wait, hang on. I got 2 more side deck cards. This confused me because they're EVs. But these are supposed to be Shatter Imprisonings. I don't have them yet, so this is Proxy's Fat. Yeah, so there you go. Thanks guys for watching. It's a really good deck. I hope you take the time to maybe build it on DN and play it. It's really fun. I think you guys will like it. Well, cheer and Striker for the win. Signing.